Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us today. We are contacting you from Barcelona in Spain. We are the UCAN office. I know that some of you who have registered for this consultation online don't know us very well, and some of you don't know MESHE. So my idea would be that I briefly introduce UCAN very quickly, and then I start talking about MESHE. I present what we are doing with this project. My name is Carmen Arroyo. I'm the project coordinator of MESHE and executive director of UCAN. So let's move on. So UCAN is the largest multidisciplinary European association dedicated to university lifelong learning. We were founded in 1991. We have our formal seat in Brussels, and since the year 2000, we have an administrative office in Barcelona as well. It's where we are located in this moment. And our objective is to empower the futures through the provision of inclusive, flexible, and equitable university lifelong learning opportunities for all. And we work more or less in four big areas, which are professional learning, digital learning, inclusive learning, and responsible learning. And if we connect one of these areas specifically, professional learning and inclusive learning as well, our objectives and our vision of how adult education should work, that is what inspires us to prepare a project like MESHE. So what is MESHE? The full name of this project is Microcredential Exchange System for Higher Education in Europe. This is a Erasmus Plus project and the call for partnership, for cooperation in the field of education and training that is open for European NGOs. And MESHE is the second project that we have obtained through this call. And of course, UCAN is coordinating it, and we have a consortium with 6 universities from 6 different countries in Europe, plus the European Students' Union, ESU, and Rubik's Consultancy is a company from Ireland. We started in December, and we'll finish, if there is no problems, in November 26. So let's see a bit more. Just hold on okay. Yeah. So what do we seek with this project? So there are a number of things that we wanted to produce or to go through. We wanted to identify what are exactly the challenges that prevent learners from taking microcredential courses, because there is a lot of offer, but not so many adult learners are taking the opportunity to do these courses. We also wanted to raise awareness of microcredentials, their potential, and the flexibility and the appropriateness of these programs, and develop tools that help learners to understand better the value of these microcredentials and the value for them particularly. Identify the challenges that stop universities from trusting or working more with each other, and to exchange these microcredentials and accept the microcredentials from other universities into stackable programs that they might actually run. And also to develop and test a prototype system. Our idea is to analyze what is not working and to try to find solutions so we can test a prototype system that it's helping this exchange between universities. We want to create a guide for universities to implement this system. And finally, of course, as we normally do in our projects, we would like to create a good set of policy recommendations and an action plan that help policymakers at different levels to enable or to facilitate universities in this advanced cooperation of exchange of micro-credentials. So as you can see, it's quite a lot that we want to do. And I've put it all into a diagram, the way that we have planned this project. So we will have 3 phases. Right now, we are in phase 1. We are developing this advocacy and motivation pack on micro-credentials that is addressed specifically to learners or potential learners of micro-credentials. So we are now doing the focus discussion groups. We've carried out a few already in different countries. There are still 3, I think, to be done. We are doing the consultation right now with you. We are also running a questionnaire to learners. And what we will do with all this, the collection of feedback that we gather, we will synthesize and then prepare a report. And all this information that we gather, we are sure that will help us to prepare this advocacy and motivation pack. This first phase is going to finish in February. So in February, you should be able to see this pack in our website. Well, in the website of the project, of course. In phase 2, we will work on this guide to establish quality and trustworthy partnership cooperation between universities. And the idea is to gather all materials that show how cooperation between universities work well or where it doesn't work, because with the information that we collect, we will identify what is failing, what is not working well, and then it will help us to prepare a guide that is helpful. We will also identify a number of micro-credentials. We decided that would be green skills, the area that we will work for this piloting. And then we will do the pilot in exchange between universities. Every university in the consortium will have identified a number of micro-credentials, and then they will apply this prototype system that we are going to design. We'll collect feedback. We'll see what are the comments from these users, and then we'll finalize the guide that we want to have ready by February 2028, so quite a long time ahead. And finally, we'll do this policy recommendations and action plan on the implementation of partnership cooperation. We'll draft a document. We'll discuss it internally first. We'll run another survey, and then we'll have an online dialogue, like similar to what we are having now. And we'll have a roundtable, more formal, in Brussels with the stakeholders located there, basically. And that would happen in September 28. Of course, if you are familiar with European projects, you will understand that we also have a transversal work to do, which is management, quality, and evaluation, and also another one, which is dissemination and impact. For dissemination, I only would like to highlight that we will have a final event that is going to be in November 2028. It will be here in Barcelona, but it's so far away now that let's concentrate what we have to do now. So what are we going to do today? We'll see a short analysis of the data received so far. I say so far because we will continue collecting data after today for 1 month at least. So it will be data from learners and from stakeholders. And by the end, well, before our holidays, before August, we should have a report that synthesizes everything that we have collected so far. We will split afterwards the participants in 3 groups. We'll have a small discussion with the 3 groups. It's going to be about half an hour discussion, and then we'll come back together and we'll summarize what is happening in the split rooms. Okay? So I hope you are interested, and then we can move to the next part of the presentation, which is what we have collected from learners until now. So, as I mentioned a minute ago, we collected two types of data. On one hand, we collected data from stakeholders, and Louis from ESU will present this, and we have 26 answers, I understand. But I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to focus into the data collected from learners. We collected two types of data through a questionnaire, and we collected so far 27 replies. In this questionnaire, there are specific questions. There are some quantitative and some qualitative. And then we collected also data, but more qualitative, of course, from the focus discussion groups. We've had focus discussion groups in 4 different countries. It's around 70 participants who have been involved, and we hope at least to reach 100 of learners with whom we will talk by the end of the process. Let's start with the data collected through questionnaires. And I selected a few slides. For example, I mean, it's not super important, but I thought it was interesting. We collected almost 60% of the replies are from female students. And if you look at the level of education that these learners have completed, the majority are, have been at university. They have bachelor, master, or doctor or equivalent degrees. So there are students who have been educated. And then the current employment status, the majority, about 55% full-time, 11% part-time, and 18 are students. So basically, we are looking at the replies from students who are mostly employed or partly employed. So that is the kind of feedback we have collected. I also selected a couple of other charts. One that was asking what motivated them to enroll in the course, and 23 of the 27 answers said to improve professional skills. So I think that it's really important. They do this kind of upskilling, reskilling for a reason. They try to improve in their careers. And if you look at what we said, which were the challenges of participating in these courses, the majority says time constraints. Of course, they are working, so it's challenging to work and study at the same time. Of course, we all know this, but also work commitment, and then a bit behind family and caring responsibilities. These are the main answers that we wanted to highlight from the questionnaire. And now if we go into the main points that we collected through the focus discussion groups discussions, and I think that we can, well, we have prepared 2 slides, one about barriers, which is this one, and there are 5 main areas of barriers: structural, psychological, systems, access and inclusion, and perception and cultural barriers. So I don't think that if you look through this chart, you will see anything new or especially surprising. Of course, there are barriers of financial barriers, time, the pressure of juggling between work and studies, family, taking care of responsibilities, and that is something that is not new for us, that we've been working on adult education for many years. Also psychological barriers, because we find people who have not been studying recently, they go back to university to do some courses, and sometimes they are not so certain that they can do the course. They are worried, they lack confidence, they are worried, they don't know what is this course going to be for me. And of course, there is also the systems and information barriers connected to what is happening once I have this course done. How can I use it? What is the employer going to value what I'm doing? Is not. What does it mean, micro-credential, and how is that going to impact in my CV? Is it going to be perceived as something good or not? There is also this column about access and inclusion. They need accessibility, they need to be literate at digital level, they need to understand what we are telling them, and it's all connected with access and the possibility to have this access. And finally, in this on the right, you see there is sometimes a skepticism by the employer. There is, it's not very familiar what is this micro-credential, what they are, and why they are going to be useful for my employees and for us, for our company. How credible are these short courses? Is it going to solve the needs that we have in our company? So this is the panorama that we see when we talk about micro-credentials with learners. The other set of information that we took from the focus discussion groups was the main themes that came up in the conversation. I think that there is a real lack of knowing exactly what is micro-credentials in many levels. Not everybody understands what are micro-credentials and why they are useful. There is a bit of bad reaction to this micro. They think, well, it's so small. If it's so small, it's worth it. Why should I do micro-credentials? And they are not sure if the employer is going to recognize and value the effort they put, but they really like the idea that is flexible, that they can be connected online, that there are blended options, so there are some positive reaction there. And they also are interested that is very practical and focusing specific things related to work and their work, specific work that they are doing. And the stackability and progression is a very important matter for learners. I think that if we could guarantee that the micro-credentials that we offer will be able to be piled up and turn into something bigger, they could really be more positive about it. So this is in summary what we have collected so far. And I think that that's all I wanted to explain for now. And I hope you understood everything I said. And now I'm giving the floor to our colleague Louis Brau, who will actually tell us about the data collected by stakeholders.
Thank you very much, Carme. Actually, I will just share my screen and then I will start presenting. So in the meantime, are you able to see my screen? Yes.
Yes, Louis.
Let me just make it. Yes, okay, it should be working right now.
Perfect.
So let me just introduce myself, actually. So my name is Louis Bro. I'm the head of secretariat of the European Students' Union. We are one of the proud, actually, partner of this project, and we have been having this partnership cooperation with EUCAN for a few years already. I think it's the third project that we are working on together on micro-credentials. So we are very grateful actually to be part of that journey again. And today I'm going to present actually the preliminary survey results, a survey that we sent to stakeholders. And so basically the main topic actually of this survey was on the motivation to enroll in micro-credentials. So basically, the idea was to send it to many different stakeholders actually, and to collect the views of people from the industry, from civil society, from public authorities as well, from higher education and education actors, to see actually how they perceive, first of all, micro-credentials, but also actually what motivates them to enroll. And so this survey was about actually what attracts learners to micro-credentials, what barriers they may face, and how universities can design more relevant learning opportunities. And you will see that some of the data that were collected here are kind of a reflection of what Carme presented right before. First of all, I wanted to maybe take a bit of a time to focus on who took part in this survey. And the first thing that I think is interesting is that we have many different stakeholders. We have quite a huge diversity in the profile of people that have taken the survey and that answered, and we are quite grateful to that. First of all, we can focus on the organization types. We asked as simple as that for which kind of organization the respondents are working. And so as you can see, we got 26 answers in total. And so 8 of them are working for education or higher education institutions. 8 of them were working for industry or private sector. 7 of them for NGOs and civil society organizations, and 3 of them for public sector and agencies. And for the 3 of them, actually very different profiles again. One working for the DG MPOL, so for the European Union. One person working actually for Chamber of Industry and Business, and one person working for national government. So once again, very interesting. The sectors that people were working on were once again very different. Of course, we have a majority of people that answered education, and I mean, since the topic is on education, there is no mystery in that. So 14 people working on education, 4 people working in international cooperation, 3 people in pharma, 2 in research, and 3 in others, so digital, EU, and consultancy. And finally, the last thing that I wanted to focus on was on the seniority of and what is the position of the respondents within their company or their organization. And as you can see, actually, we have 9 people that we can consider are working for the management of their organization. So 2 as head of department and 7 as director, head of office, general secretary, etc. And we had also 5 people as senior employees and also 12 people as employees, which in the end is very interesting to notice, because you will see that they have also different views on the motivation actually to enroll or to incite their employees to enroll in micro-credentials. The first set of questions that we sent to the respondents was about actually how they perceive micro-credentials. And so the first one was as simple as this one. How familiar is your organization with micro-credentials? We wanted to make sure that most of them understand actually micro-credentials, and it was the case actually for almost 85% of them, that either are very familiar or somewhat familiar. And then 7.7% actually heard about them, but not sure about what they are. And once again, 7.7% were not familiar at all. However, as you can see here, all of them has a rather positive, actually, a very positive or rather positive opinion about actually micro-credentials. I think the most important for us was about what are the main reasons for learner to enroll into micro-credentials. And you can see here that actually we had plenty of different opinions about it. The main one, 19% out of 26, I mean 19 out of 26 people choose that it was to acquire specific professional skills. People are working on a specific environment and they want to have a short-term benefit for their their enrollment into micro-credentials. The second thing was about flexibility of short courses. I mean, once again, it's people that are working already, adult education, and they may have actually a private life that is also busy if they have children also. So it's also very important that micro-credentials remain available. And I think it's one of the great assets of micro-credentials. And then for the third answer actually was about improve employability and personal development. If acquire specific professional skills refers to having a short-term benefit, you can see that people are also thinking about the next step within their career. And I think it goes perfectly in line with what the European Commission is trying to implement actually with the Union of Skills, reskilling, upskilling, and you can see actually that people are willing to just to move to the next step within their career. What characteristics make micro-credentials attractive for learners? So the first thing, as I was saying, actually is a flexible learning schedule, actually. And I think it's once again, very important. If it's online, whether it's outside actually of working hour, I think it's quite important for the learners to be able to follow those courses. The short duration is also an asset, and the practical job-oriented content is also an asset, because I mean, most of the time these micro-credentials are a bit costly, of course, and it needs actually for the employer to have a return on investment. So it's kind of important as well for the people that want to enroll within micro-credentials. Then we asked actually our respondents what barriers might prevent learners from enrolling into micro-credentials. And the first one actually was a lack of awareness. To be completely fair with you, before working in that field, I didn't know what was a micro-credential. And I had to learn when I got and when I joined the European Students' Union, which is an organization working in higher education. But just to say here, we had respondents that were from outside of the field, and I think it's kind of important. We still have a lot of promotion to do, both towards I mean the employers, but also to the employees about the opportunities that are existing to them actually. And right now, I think we have a momentum, politically speaking, to promote what we are trying to do here. The second main barrier was a lack of guidance, but also actually like the lack of recognitions actually. And finally, as a general conclusion, actually, I gathered here what learners need to say yes, just as a matter of principle for the methodologies that we implemented here. At the end, we just asked them like it was an open question for them to answer, like what do they need actually, or what they wish the micro-credentials would be in the future. And the first thing that they want to implement or to highlight is about actually the quality and the recognition. Whenever you are choosing to follow micro-credentials and additional courses to train yourself, the first thing that you need to assess is to have a proof of the quality of the education that you are going to receive, but also to make sure that what the certification and the micro-credentials that you are going to get as well will be recognized not only in your company, but also in the future as well. The second thing is about the relevance and the career impact. Actually, if people choose to once again go to training education, they want to have a direct return on investment on the time, both time and money actually, that they have invested. And finally, the last thing is about access, as Carmen was saying before, actually, and flexibility and cost. Flexibility because I mean the schedule should be compatible with work and family. It should have a manageable workload with minimal homework, for instance, but also for the employers. And I was telling you, actually, we have 9 persons that were part of the management that answer this survey. It needs to be subsidized, actually, or employer co-funded cost as well. And I think it's kind of important, even if the public sector actually is helping companies to fund these schemes for their employees. And I think this is it.
Thank you very much, Louis. I'm not sure if at this point there is anybody who has any question, or if not, we would actually move into the split rooms. Do we have it ready, Gemma? Yes. So if there is nothing that burns you to be asked, we will move into the split rooms. There will be 3 rooms. In one, you will find Victoria from ESU. In another, you will find Megan Pardy from University of Cork. And in the third one, you will find Susan Costello from Rubik's. So see you in half an hour. Thank you very much. And now I was just wondering if we could invite Megan, Victoria, and Susan to give us just a short summary of what we have discussed in the parallel sessions, so everybody knows what has happened.
No problem. Would you like me to start? Brilliant. Oh, just gonna second this. No. So we had a very engaged and active group. Thank you everyone for participating. So we started off the conversation just speaking about the nature of today's careers and how the life cycle of one's career is much shorter in individual roles, and how micro-credentials can really allow people to upskill in key areas so that they have that flexibility and freedom to move and cross industries, cross careers, cross jobs, cross companies. So it was really looking at micro-credentials being the sweet spot as well, in terms of for both employers and individuals, that the cost and the duration is a real motivating factor, them being typically a slightly lower cost, and the shortness as well being really important for learning and development managers and HR teams to be able to persuade staff to upskill in these areas. So it being a persuasive tool was really, really important there. Then we moved on to looking at the gaps in CVs and how micro-credentials are being used to fill those gaps in people's CVs or in their jobs, and how there's 2 different routes people use them for. So cross-industry, I suppose, versus promotions, people who want to move across industries or people who want to upskill in their careers, and that may be a way of promoting micro-credentials to learners. And also employers using RPL as a tool to encourage employees to upskill in key areas, because RPL can function, the recognition of prior learning can function both as a motivator to help individuals understand how much they've already learned and give them that confidence to go back and learn that little bit more in the area they need to, and also micro-credentials validating people's learning that they've already done. People who've been working in careers for 30 years who might now need that piece of paper to say, yes, we've done the work. Micro-credentials can bridge that gap. We also looked at how micro-credentials as they currently operate are a very supportive learning process. And there's a real kind of connection there between the individual, the business sector, the employee, and kind of wider out as well. And really looking there at how those opportunities can work. So if the learning and development teams, the businesses, the education institutions, and the micro-credential, spaces are all syncing up, then that gives us a real opportunity to develop skills in key areas that are needed, so that the individual can really see the value in why they're going to upskill in the space, because it's supported across the board and seen as a priority for everyone. So I think that was pretty much our summary. Did I miss anything, Carly?
I think it was very, very well summarized. Thank you, Megan. Victoria?
Thank you, Carmen. We were talking in our group, and I want to thank you to our group. They were really active, so we had a nice discussion. We were discussing the barriers to enroll micro-credentials or what prevents learners from enrolling micro-credentials. And so we shared different point of view from our participants. But to sum it up briefly, the biggest barrier to access micro-credentials are financial barriers, or the accessibility to join from the financial perspective. and then lack of awareness about micro-credentials, about how it works, about how to access it. So there is needed some guidance about enrolling micro-credentials, and then also time and flexibility was mentioned, that it's one of the barrier to enroll micro-credentials, that it's kind of time consuming, and meaning that it might be longer, and it's difficult to combine it with the job and with the life generally, and then flexibility of learning. So to have it more accessible in a accessible and flexible for the people who are already adults and they already have full-time job. And also we were talking about accessing micro-credential for people who are low qualified, that there is needed there is lack of guidance and lack of practical information about how to enroll. So increasing awareness generally is recommended. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. And finally, but not less important, Susan, where are you?
Super.
I don't see you.
I'm here. Don't worry, Carmen, I'm here. Yeah, we had a really interactive group as well. As I'd say, we could have stayed on for another while. So it was fantastic. So thank you to the group for their interaction also. So we were looking at, I suppose, how can organizations support that participation? And I think, first of all, it came back to there needs to be clarity on the micro-credentials, and there needs to be linked to that transparency around the micro-creds and the pathways. So while you can have the same product, it can be used in different contexts. So some is for personal upskilling or for specific job roles. But, I suppose even for the learning outcomes, who's awarding it, what the assessment criteria is, what's the minimum information that's required, so that there is that clarity around the micro-credential piece. But also like clarity for the learner and for the educators. And as someone said, Adrienne said, to educate the educators around the micro-credentials. So even like looking at the ECTS points, I need to understand that there is a workload with that. And there's a huge disparity between if you have a micro-credential that's 1 ECTS point versus a micro-credential that's 30. So it's too varied for learners. And we need to maybe understand a bit more the impact that this has on the learners. So by gaining that clarity, we can then encourage that participation even from an employer's perspective. I think they need to have the clarity piece first. So then they know what they are supporting their employees with. So we need to ensure that we're responding then to the needs of the employer. So that collaborative piece between the provider and the organization is really important when you're down to then that development of those micro-credentials, but the clarity needs to come first. And the value of learning isn't always clear. So they may not recognize or support that micro-credential if they can't link it back to their business need. So again, it's really that piece of closing that gap for the employer, so they have a clear understanding of what the micro-credential is, what the time involved is in it, and therefore what it is that they need to do to be able to support the learners. There was a suggestion then some form of like European lifelong learning certificate would maybe really be a really good idea, for that stackability of micro-credentials could come under this. Or also then with digital credentials, I suppose there's a bigger opportunity for transparency with that, and that's something that will hopefully grow. For my group, did that kind of summarize everything? Or Pascal, Francesca, is there anything else that I need to add in? Are we good? Oh, thanks, Adrienne. Okay, thanks, Carmen.
So I think that thank you very much, everybody. It's been a very collaborative activity this morning, and thank you for all your participation. I only would like to mention a couple of things now. I imagine by the end of August, we will have a final analysis report of all the data that we have collected. We will share it with all of you. All the participants to this session will receive an email with a link to this document. And then this advocacy pack that we are designing for learners We need to have it available in February 2027. So when it's ready, we will also share it. I hope that the material that we put into that document is helpful and encourages more learners to get the adventure of returning to study and to preparing themselves for the current market demands. And I think that with this, we can actually close the session today. Thank you very much to our speakers, Louis, the moderators, Megan and Susan and Victoria, and to all the participants for all your contribution. I'll see you soon around. Thank you.